Hi everyone, welcome again to another Teacher Joseph video clip. Today we're going to talk about something which is very important, and that is the link between spirituality and language learning. Now you'll hear more about this on my social media in the future because it's a very, very important thing. Now, before you get too excited about this or before you rush away to choose another video clip, let me tell you, I'm not talking here about religion. I really don't care what your external idea is. I'm talking here about how your belief system stops you from learning, or how it can change to help you learn. Many of you think that learning a language is simply an academic process by which you take words from the book, you cram them into your head, and then somehow or other you're able to communicate with them. And if you keep English at its most basic level of exchanging information, exchanging money, or exchanging commodities, then of course you're going to be 100% right. But in order to get the best from your English, it needs to be celebrated, it needs to be uplifted, and you need to grow and change and move into the new community of native speakers. Now, let me just expand a little bit. So, why do I think that spirituality and language learning is really related? Well, first of all, it's because you grow and change. Secondly, it's because you're part of a community. And thirdly, your belief system directly impacts and affects how well you learn. Now, you can't argue with any of those 3 points. It's true that many of you might not feel comfortable with them, but I would say that that's probably because of the word spirit and spirituality, which for many of us brings up the idea of organized religion. But that's not at all what I mean. What I'm talking about is how you as a person can use your belief system to help you learn. Let me explain. So let's say, for example, that in your mind, you don't believe that you can learn a language, okay? So for you, language learning doesn't work. And I've met many of you who've told me this, that it's just not your thing, but you have to do it. Ultimately, if you really, really believe that you can't, then you won't. You've kind of created a self-fulfilling prophecy for yourself. If you really believe that you can't ever go on a bicycle and that bicycle somehow or other is going to harm you, then you'll never get on a bicycle, you'll never learn, and for you it will always be that mysterious bad thing which you're not able to do. We all have our weaknesses, and we all tell people of what we can and can't do. I often tell people, oh, I can't swim, don't like to swim, and I don't. I never learned, but I'm sure that if I tried to, probably I could succeed, but I don't particularly want to. But I like to hold on to that fear. Now, when it comes to spirituality and language learning, the idea is that you pass through your fears, you overcome them, and you do that by changing what you believe. So, for example, many of us are living now in a modern age. We read a book once, it doesn't go into our heads. We read a book twice, we remember some words, and we need to read it 3 times before we can actually take anything from it, because our minds are thinking about family, dinner, work, what's happening in the world, what's happening tomorrow. And I think once we begin to live in the moment, things get a lot easier. Now, I've already hinted and spoken a little bit about how your belief system can affect your learning. It's something that I really want to go in depth about. So you're going to be hearing a lot more about how your belief system is going to be helping you. But right now, I just want you to begin to open up to this idea that what you think makes you who you are. Because if you want to change, whether it's the world, your job, your hairstyle, or whatever, it begins with changing your thinking and imagining what that thing might look like in the future. So I've used the word spirit and spirituality here. If you're not comfortable with it, you can just talk about your own belief system regarding learning. But ultimately, as I mentioned before, because you are in a community, because you're striving to grow and change, and because you're trying to kind of wriggle out of this belief system that says that you can't and that somehow you must be doomed to stay in the same processes you've been in since you were a child, ultimately these 3 things prove that you are in a spiritual environment, and it's better to handle and to choose to work with these things than simply be egotistical, filling your head with words because you can. Looking inside the machinery that's in here and how you can use that to the best of your ability is something which is much more beneficial to you in the long run. It's a little bit like, if you come to do anything, you can talk about the philosophy of the thing, have an understanding of it, and use that understanding to grow and to help you understand it more. Or you can keep it at the level upon which you perhaps work. Let me give you a couple of examples just to make it clear. So imagine that you work in a factory and you're told to take one thing, let's say a cup, and every time you're packing, you need to take a cup like this, put it into a box, and then the box moves and someone else seals the box, and then it gets posted. Now, if you don't understand why you're doing that job, if you're just told, okay, put the cup into the box, you're not going to care how you do it. You're not going to have any feeling about it. You're just going to take the cup, put it in the box, and then it disappears. But if you have an understanding of the whole process, you're going to be taking more care about how you put that cup into the box. You're also going to be understanding the stresses and strains of your colleagues and how things work for them. You could also directly contribute to the success of the company by suggesting new ideas about how your job could be improved. So by understanding the bigger picture, you're then able to do your task more effectively because you know where you fit in. Now, language learning is the same, but unfortunately, many of you, you're just alone there with a book, with your mind, with a computer, and you're thinking, okay, I just have to get this thing from here to here, maybe through a computer. And language can never work that way. It can never be reduced to such a clinical way of being. Language is something alive. It's something which has existed since the beginning of time, and it's something which is going to be here long after you've gone. It may take different forms, it may look different, but ultimately it's a scientific, almost magical thing which has been there long before we have. It evolves, it changes. Once you get in tune with this, you soon understand that learning it just because it's a language really is impossible. You can't learn everything about English. So for those of you who are working your way through a dictionary, it's a waste of time. Even I don't know all of the words in a dictionary. The experts in English don't know every word. So why would you reduce it down to such a clinical thing? The more you celebrate English in a community of native speakers, when you celebrate English as a learner, when you see yourself striving, when you see yourself moving and growing, ready to embrace a new culture, these things are very deeply moving things. It's like a mother watching a child learning how to ride a bike for the first time. It's like seeing signs of growing and adulthood. One of the reasons why I really love voice work, and I'm encouraging you to get into voice work, is because it creates its own environment. Voice work with English is beautiful because, again, it moves us away from the words into directly how you communicate with each other. With intonation, for example, hearing someone's voice go up and down, you can catch additional points of meaning of what they're trying to say to you. Likewise, when words are joined together and sound much more fluent, it's something much more than the words on the paper. There's something else happening there, some exchange of thoughts, something beautiful, something elevated, something spiritual. That's all I'm going to say about spirituality and language learning today. But I do want you to consider that you are, in learning a language, joining a very, very special group of people who are not only learning words, but are flourishing the language, bringing it alive. And that's why I'd really like you to be working more closer together, because many of you who decide to study English alone, well, that's exactly what you're doing. And outside of a community, it's much harder. So I would really encourage you to find a language exchange partner. I'm also going to be looking at ways that maybe I can help to bring you all closer together a little bit, although I don't know exactly what that might look like yet. So it's really important that you keep in mind that you're not alone when you're learning. And also, we're talking about changing belief systems here, changing ideas about what you can achieve. And that is really, really important. So my advice to you today is stay open. The more open you can be to new experiences and new people is ultimately going to define how successful you are. I hope you found this helpful. Let's talk again soon. See you. Bye.